Okay, so everyone, this is Killah Bee. He's the campaign commander from Pandemic Legion, one of the head honchos. Killah Bee, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to the fleet?
Yo, so I'm Killah Bee. I'm FC and PL, and I don't know. I'm trying to coordinate, all the people that want to kill the goons at the moment. That's pretty much what I'm doing.
Cool. So I just got my fleet to X up with some questions for you. I kind of give them a primer on who you are. So if you don't mind, I'll just read some of the questions out from fleet and let you answer them. Is that
Yeah,
cool?
go for it. Go for it.
So the only reason that I'd interrupt is if we get bombed, I'm just going to warp us off. But unless that happens, we're just sitting here and toasting and shooting things on the station, just so you know what we're up to.
Yeah.
Okay, so your first question is going to be, let me scroll up. Wow, you got a lot of questions. PL actually going to stick around to prevent goons from simply retaking their space after they've lost it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because a lot of people ask me that, and it's something that we something that we as a coalition have to think about because that's a threat, right? Like as soon as we're done burning all that shit down, they can just retake it, and we have to think what we want to do to prevent that. But I can't really give you an answer on that yet. PL itself is always going to be where the content is, right? And if goons are trying to take their shit back, that's going to generate a lot of fights. So that's going to be content. And if there's goons to shoot, we always shoot goons first.
Okay, next question. Why do you think that Intosis warfare is boring, and how can we make it more exciting?
Yeah, the thing is, we have a huge coalition which the goons can't fight. And now we'll have to Intosis all these things. And all they do is run around and intercept the fleets, right? Like try to kill the Intosis ships and all that. I think the problem with the current...
Warp off, guys, warp off. Warp planet 6, warp planet 6, warp planet 6, warp planet 6, warp planet 6. Okay, so the next question is regarding Pandemic Horde. Is Pandemic Horde looking to move into any of the space that gets captured?
I don't know about that. People always think that PH and PL are super closely tied together, but Pandemic Horde is there as an entirely independent leadership kind of. Obviously, they're trying to be close to us when it's possible, but that's a question I can't answer. Maybe they want to take some of the space, maybe they don't. I think they have some space in Quarius right now, which they're pretty happy with, but we'll see. I mean, there will be lots of space to take when we push all the CFC alliances out of the space, so it's going to be really interesting to see who takes what.
Next question. What are you calling this war, and why is it World War B?
We call it World War B because Reddit kind of decided it's World War B, and lots of dudes in PL actually like the name. And then there's 3 reasons, or there's multiple reasons why it's World War B. It's first off, you have the World War 3 kind of, it's like B3 kind of thing. Then you have the it's a war against the goons, which their alliance ticker is a B kind of. So it fits in that way, and there's a couple more reasons why it's called that way. And then our video maker who made that awesome video, which was called World War B, just decided to call it that as we were talking about the name a couple days earlier, and he saw the name and he liked it, so he named it that way. And then that video got a lot of attention.
Yeah, that was a really good video.
That's why we call it
apparently Matani hates it, so even better.
Yeah. This next question comes from Alistair McEwen. Do you think that this is the end of goons, or the Imperium as a primary power in EVE, or even if they get evicted from nullsec, are they just going to continue as a low-sec alliance?
I don't think it's the end of goons. It is already kind of the end of what the Imperium was and what the CFC has been for a long time. And we'll see how we make progress on more alliances within the CFC. We've already managed to the CO2 already decided to flip. And that was a really big part of the CFC. They formed really impressive numbers in a fight like MTECO, for example. So I don't think it's going to be the end of the goons. The goons as an alliance will still exist because they're actually really strong, and they have really they're just really strong as an alliance, I guess. But I think it could be the end of the Imperium or the CFC, whatever you want to call them. And if they're going to be in 0-0 or low sec, I mean, it's hard to say. If they want to be back in 0-0, goons could definitely go somewhere and take a place somewhere in 0-0 if they wanted to. But we're trying our best to do as much damage as we can to them, for sure.
I'm gonna do the questions then. Putrescine asks, any Russians are in this war already?
I mean, yes. So we have Afterlife, who are pretty much goon pets who've been I don't know if they've been contracted or if Matan just asked them to come or whatever, but we have Afterlife, and we have Losek Lupin to some extent, and also Soviet Union, or pretty much almost the entirety of Stainwagon, who have deployed up to Otsisai, which is like right next to Akonin, and they are kind of like their kind of objective is to fuck around with, I don't know, everyone, and show up for the big timers. Just some more numbers for the CFC side, but that's all the Russians that are involved so far. Obviously, we have Out of Sight, who are Russians too, I think, who've been doing pretty much God's work, in, from Wiener. So we have quite a lot of Russian groups already involved, but like the big Russian players, like XDev, for example, they haven't, taken, they haven't done anything yet.
Okay, next question comes from Rakathosh, and he asks, it looks like the Money Badger Coalition is winning. What could goons do that would turn the tide of the war?
I mean, yeah, that's one of the big things that I've been like trying to keep PL in control of, is because everybody's like screaming, "Oh, we're winning! It's happening! Goons are dying and all that stuff." But we're far from winning. What the goons are doing right now is pretty smart. What they're trying to do is they are not giving us any more fights because they're just heavily outnumbered. You saw MTech where they had like 1.5k dudes and we had like 3.5k dudes. Same in UQ9 where they were just outnumbered almost 2-1, and they can't really fight us obviously with those odds. So what they're trying to do right now is they're not giving us any content, as you're feeling right now. You're doing God's work up there, by the way. So really good job to all of you that are part of this fleet right now. So you see what's happening. All they do is try to bomb you, and they run around and maybe like an inti fleet or two try to disrupt the Intosising. What they're trying to accomplish by that is they're trying to bore us. They're trying to make sure that we don't get any fights, then we don't have any fun. And they're trying to reduce our numbers by that, because if they do that for like a couple weeks or months straight, right? Obviously everybody's like, oh, Killah Bee's forming a fleet again. Doesn't, not going to get a fight anyways. They're only going to do inties. And that way they try to reduce our numbers to a level where they can fight us again. That's what their goal is right now. So what they're doing right now is strategically the right step. It's just a terrible step in my opinion, because first of all, it's also boring for their members. They can, they can ping how much the members like it as much as they want, but it's actually boring. I know from a lot of goons that they don't like flying around in inties. If you have 150 million skill points, you don't want to fly an interceptor. And then the other thing is that also, why they do this, they can't contest anything. Right now, the entirety of Branch is falling. You're doing that right now. And also the entirety of Fate. Like right now, today, they're losing almost half of Fate because they're not showing up for it. They're not doing anything. And they're just losing all their regions. They keep promising their allies that, yeah, we will do everything that we need to do to defend your stuff. But then they don't actually show up to defend it. So that's just a major push. And it's going to reduce their own numbers as well. This is why I think it's a terrible terrible tactic, whatever.
So the last big fight that we were involved in, at least Spectre Fleet, was MTECO, and we've formed 4 or 5 fleets since then and haven't seen a fleet of that scale since. When do you think the next big fight is going to happen on the scale of MTECO or BR5?
That's really, you can't really like declare a system which it might happen in. I kind of thought that we would maybe get a fight like that today, because like I said, it's like half of Fate coming out of Reinforce, but they just decided to blue ball us all the way. So these fights are likely to happen in systems that are somewhat important. So for example, M-O was the CO2 staging system, right? Then a couple of days later, we had UQ9, which was the Razor and FCON staging up in Branch. So, and we keep pushing for staging systems. We keep reinforcing staging systems and important iHubs that they use to travel in between their spaces, right? So those are the systems that we are likely going to see big fights in. But where it's going to happen next is hard to predict, because that depends on the goons, if they're actually going to form a big fleet or not, if they are willing to commit to some extent.
Now, this is the first time that an NPSI organization like Spectre Fleet has actually, declared war and tried to participate in a coalition-level war. What do you think about NPSI group participating in a war like this?
It's amazing, because what happened to me since this war started is that I've had pretty much like 10-15 EVE mails every single day of corporations, of single people that have been convoying me and asking me, yo, I really want to help fight the goons, but how can I get involved? Obviously they know they can't just join PL. So they asked me, how can I get involved? How can I be a part of this war? And what I tell them is, yo, why don't you just go to Spectre Fleet? Why don't you just show up to these guys? Because what Spectre is doing is they're getting all these people that, for whatever reason, are not in a big 0-0 alliance like PL or NC or Test or whatever. They get them a chance to be a part of this war. So it's amazing that NPSI groups are like Spectre are getting involved, and I think it's really important because, I mean, you guys are having what, like 350 dudes right now? That's more than Goons form for UQ9. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just amazing, and it's like so big. So just keep doing what you're doing, and it's just super good.
The question comes that you guys are currently being paid to fight goons, allegedly by I1ISK. If that contract ends, are you going to continue the war?
Yes. Like, how do I put this?
Is a good bonus.
Yeah, it is nice to have, and it is something that I kind of wanted to do this. Like, me personally, as a person, I wanted to push to fight the CFC, to fight the goons, but it was kind of hard to convince some other parts of the PL leadership to do that. So this money was kind of needed to just like get the majority of PL on board. But now, since 2DW, pretty much since we killed that CSA, since we outnumbered the CFC for the first time, it's just the entire PL leadership is behind me. Everybody is thinking that we can do it. Everybody's hyped up. PL, like, the last 3 days, like the entirety of the PL old guard, like everybody resubbed. All the old PL players are coming back. It's just amazing to see, and I don't think the money's gonna run out anyways.
Okay. This question goes back to one you previously answered about Imperium's tactics of blue balling and stalling and whatnot. Is this a tactic that is Imperium specific, or if there was another coalition of the size and scale of Imperium, would they employ the same tactics?
I mean, that's hard to say. It always depends on the leadership and what kind of leadership you have. But I think when you're facing, if you're looking at 4,000 enemies and you have maybe like 2,000 dudes on your side, there's pretty much no way you can take that fight without getting completely dumpstered. And they don't know how to deal with this situation. They don't know how to deal with it effectively, and that's why they're doing it, because it's the easiest way for them, they think, to whittle down our numbers and then actually getting to a point where they're able to fight us again. But I think that there's plenty of opportunities for the CFC to do damage to us, but they're just not taking any of the opportunities. Like right now, today, I think they would have had plenty of opportunities to form a fleet, crush one of our fleets before the rest of the fleets arrive, but they don't even try it.
Okay, next question comes in the form of the CFC doctrines. So they were previously using Macarials, but just recently they've announced that they're switching back to their Baltec Megathrons, which were popular during the Fountain War. Why do you think they've changed from Macarials to Megathrons, and is it going to make a difference in the next major engagement?
So the problem, like, first of all, I'm like a complete market scrub or whatever, so I don't know how hard it is to supply that many Macarials, but the money definitely isn't the issue. The money won't be an issue in my opinion. So I don't think they're doing it because the Megatrons are cheaper. Maybe that's like a little side bonus or whatever. But I think the main reason is to supply. I don't know how many Macarials you can supply effectively, but they've been losing, like, since the start of the war, they've probably been losing like 1,000 or whatever Macarials, if not more, right? And I think at some point you just get in trouble supplying these, right? And once you hit a certain amount of people in fleet, the doctrine doesn't really matter that much, right? If they form 500 Macarials or 500 Max, that's pretty 500 Megatrons, that's pretty much the same thing. Obviously, there's differences, but I think for a huge, massive war like this, it's just easier to supply. It's cheaper, and they're gonna, or they think they're gonna be as successful with them as they are with the Mac. Obviously, from an FC perspective, in my opinion, they're gonna get completely trashed with those. I think the Megatrons and Apox or Apox are garbage. I think they're just gonna get shit on even harder than they did in the Macarials. But that's just my thoughts.
Okay. Now, there's been a lot of rhetoric coming from the Money Badger Coalition side or the Allies side that the CFC doesn't have any competent FCs, and that's the reason why they're not fighting. Is this true? And if not, who are the good fleet commanders on the Imperium side?
So the goons had like a large, they had like a big amount of really competent FCs in the war, like the Fountain War. For example, Vili has been a really good goon FC. V has been a really good goon FC. Les is a really good goon FC. And like all these FCs have been dropping out over the past years because what the goons did, they didn't enjoy that. Obviously now, Les is kind of motivated because he was, he said that he's gonna fight until there's nothing more to fight for. So Les is kind of back in action. Also, V is back now. V just did his first fleet yesterday, I think, and V is actually running a fleet right now with like a couple Cerberuses and stuff. So V is coming back into game. So we're seeing some competent FCs come back into the CFC. But yeah, before V and Les came back, yeah, they only have J Amazingness, who is not that good. They have Asher. I would say that they didn't have any good FCs recently, but some of them are coming back now. V is definitely very competent. If Les actually does stuff again in USCZ, he's definitely very competent. So that's something I'm looking forward to because I think the war is going to get a lot more interesting with them FCing instead of the other FCs they have right now.
Okay, the next question comes regarding the Mittani's most recent meta show on Saturday. Yeah, so on the most recent meta show from the Mittani, he was talking about how the Money Badger Coalition is currently made up of 57 different alliances, that infighting is going to break the coalition apart. Do you think that infighting between these numerous allied alliances are going to cause problems?
It's something that we definitely have to keep an eye on because there's so many, in the CFC, the way it works is Mittani is kind of like the boss and he decides everything. And, the other opinions, I mean, they might, he might listen to what the FCON CEO says or whatever. But at the end of the day, if the Mittani says something, that's what's going to happen. What we have in our Money Badger coalition right now is there's a lot of people that have been fighting each other up until 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, and they're now working together. Obviously, there's a lot of egos. There's like a lot of people that just fight each other a little bit. So infighting is definitely something that might happen at some point. But I think we got it under control, and I think that right now the we're just making so much progress against the CFC that we all good at the moment. It's gonna be interesting when we start taking our first losses, and it's gonna happen. Like people think, oh, we're just gonna roll over the entire CF space and nothing's gonna happen. That's not what I expect. I think we're gonna lose fights. I think we're gonna take losses, and those days where that shit actually happens, those are the days where we can prove that we're not just a band of 50 alliances that don't actually hold together. When we take losses is where we need to stay together and support each other. That's going to be interesting when it happens.
The next question, April 27th is the Citadel release. Is the introduction of Citadel going to change the face of the war at all?
It's also the Citadel release is also including the capital changes, right? Which I think are far more interesting than the Citadels itself. I don't know if the CFC is going to risk to drop a Citadel or anything like an XL Citadel. Obviously, they will probably drop a bunch of small. So yeah, I think I don't think the Citadels itself are going to change that much. I think the capital changes are going to be super interesting. And it's actually I like it so much because in the middle of the war, there's going to be these cap changes, and everybody's going to have to adapt to them, right? And then people are going to be abusing the new changes and all that stuff. I think it's going to be super fun. It's actually super fun to have that happen in the middle of a war. I'm just looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great time.
Okay, and the last question is regarding the propaganda that's been on Reddit. The common quip is that upvotes don't win wars, but does propaganda actually play a role in this war in any way at all?
I personally think that yes. I mean, why he's saying upwar don't win wars is because at the end of the day, what matters is the numbers that you get on field. But the propaganda on the test propaganda that they've been pumping out so much good propaganda, and I think it's increasing our fleet numbers. So many people, see all these awesome test propaganda, and so many people just get hyped up about it, right? And that just gives you guys more fleet numbers. That brings some people back from PL. We get more fleet numbers. So I think in some way, it's definitely influencing the war. But at the end of the day, you know, what matters is the people that actually keep joining the fleets and the people that, you know, stick around even after a 5-hour tie-dye fight, and next day there's a fleet again and they rejoin it, you know. So
Will we see goons drop supers though?
hopefully, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm not scared to. I'm fully willing to escalate from PL, and I know that NC is fully willing to escalate. We're ready, and if they want to have a BTEC R 2.0, we're gonna get it to them, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna win it. Hopefully, we'll get that. I'm actually super looking forward to that. I hope it's gonna happen at some point during the and I think it is. Like when we hit the core of their space, you know, when we hit the core of Decline, when we hit everything that they have, that the goons actually care about. I think they're gonna have, like, they will escalate with caps at some point, and like I said, we're gonna escalate back. There's no we're not gonna wait around and be like, oh, but they have so many caps on field, we can't escalate. Fuck that, dude.
You think that's a likely occurrence, or is that just a hope?
It's a hope, but I think it's gonna happen. Like it has to happen at some point during this war. I think it's just a matter, like, it's just the way these wars go. Like unless they go into like.
If BTAC does happen, BTAC 2.0 does happen, can people that aren't in PL, like the guys in Spectre, still come along in supers and join PL?
I mean, of course, like that's what the great part is, you know. Like Jane, for example, is in this. Like Jane is in the coalition Discord where we coordinate. So if a BTEC R 2.0 happens, and you know, all these people that are in this coalition chat are kind of friendly whenever we fight the CFC, right? So if a BTEC R 2.0s happen, like all these people say, yo, I'm bringing out my supers, I'm bringing my supers, obviously we're not going to shoot them. So if you in Spectre Fleet and BTEC R 2.0 happens, and you guys think you want to participate with capital, then, you know, you can, and nothing will happen to you. Goons will shoot you, but the coalition will stand strong, obviously. It's not going to be any backstabbing or anything like that. Like, PL is fully committed to this war at this point. PL is all in for this war. So we're gonna stand strong together. We're not gonna backstab anyone. We're not gonna, you know, be like, oh, all the goons on grid are dead. Let's go kill all these other caps that are here. You know, that's not gonna happen. Like, yeah, PL is committed to this, and we're gonna do everything that we have to finish it off. And that's, you know, that's me, and I'm running this on the PL perspective right now, and so I'm gonna keep doing it. It's nothing you worry about. And if you have a super or anything, and you want to, you know, you want to get engaged, if that shit happens, then tag along. And we'll have a great time. Probably not, because we all know BTEC I was actually 8, but, you know, at least you can say you were a part of it.
Well, my super actually lived through BTAC, so I want to try lose it.
Perfect. Well, do you have anything to say to the fleet right now, Killah?
I mean, yeah, I just want to say thank you. I think you're all doing a great job. You've been out for like, what, 4 or 5 hours now as well, like almost.
Yeah,
Like you
Yeah, 2.5 hours right now.
Yeah, like you're doing an amazing job. You just helped us a lot with up there. You backed up a big part of the coalition. There was some important stuff going down right now, which didn't feel important because there was no fight, but it was actually important. So thanks a lot for doing this. Keep joining Spectre Fleets, and yeah, I'll see you guys on the battlefield.
Okay, thank you, Killah.